All right, everyone, good evening. It is 9:15 p.m. on Wednesday, January 24th, 2017, and hope everybody's doing well. Just wanted to make a video here, should be pretty brief, regarding the ECB rate decision and statement and press conference that will follow tomorrow morning. That is happening at 7:45 when the rate is announced. Not expecting any change there. So per usual, the real part, interesting part, will be 45 minutes later at 8:30 a.m. New York time, when ECB President Mario Draghi will hold his press conference. These type of events tend to be very volatile. You see a lot of whipsawing in the prices. Big runs up, big runs down, big long wicks, especially for the first during the press conference, and maybe even for some time after that. So I would say, if you're going to trade this, be very cautious. Have a strong stomach and be able to withstand some big moves in either direction, because it will be wild. I tend to not trade this event going into it, and I'd rather wait until Draghi speaks and then let the market kind of settle itself once they interpret his comments, which won't happen right away. And so that's kind of where this stands. So, but just briefly in terms of preview, this is on Forex Live, which again I keep telling you guys, it's a fantastic website and it's completely free. And you can go here now and find this story. It's ECB Thursday. What does Draghi have in store? Here's a preview, plural. This is from this one of their contributors here, main guys. This guy's got a good sense of humor too. But anyways, there's a whole bunch of previews here that you can read. None of them are very long, so I'm not going to go through them, because you can read them for yourself, and you should, just to see what these the big investment houses and hedge funds and things are saying about what to expect. And basically, what all these basically say is that although they do expect that the ECB will taper off their quantitative easing and buying probably later this year, and gradually start to normalize policy, that we probably won't see anything until then. And in fact, they probably won't change their forward guidance from what they had to say their last meeting until their next meeting, which is in March. And so at that point, they're likely to come out and start really giving the market clues about what they're thinking in terms of timing. But this message here is expected to be kind of status quo for now, and stay the course. And there are some of these guys, I think Draghi might actually strike some dovish tone, mainly because the euro, especially the euro dollar, has been run up so much in the last many weeks, that they're probably concerned about that. Although I think a lot of that run up on the euro dollar is attributable to weakness in the U.S. dollar, not necessarily euro strength, but because not all the euro pairs are following suit. So, but needless to say, that's basically the consensus. So again, the market's going to be looking for any hints in his tone about what he thinks going forward, and what they're looking at in terms of timing of their taper program. Any more hawkish or any more dovish, or is he just going to kind of reiterate what what's already been said, and maybe try to cool things off in the market, which would be dovish? So we'll have to see. Again, this is one of those events that I generally don't trade into, just because if you go back and look at the charts at previous ones, if you go like to the hourly chart or 15-minute chart, you're going to see some, generally speaking, you're going to see some pretty wild candles, with big wicks at each end, which is really frustrating to try to trade that. It's very easy to get stopped out with a big loss and then just immediately have the market turn and go in your direction, and then you jump back in, and then it whips back the other way again. It's for an amateur, it can be brutal. So even though I trade Elliott Wave patterns, I still tend to be very cautious about these events. I mean, there probably will be a trade, although maybe not. At the end of the day, maybe it's a big nothing burger and the market just continues on its merry way. And that's possible too. But that's why I let it shake out and see what the market does to interpret his comments. And so that's pretty much it. Quick look at the charts. So here's the Euro Yen daily chart. And you can see I'm still short in this. This was from the Yen News Daily at night from Monday night, and I'm still in this, and I'm probably going to hold this because I do think this will continue down. My overall feeling is that, yeah, I mean, so here's the daily chart again. This has been, going up since we hit this low back last April, and we've been going up basically ever since then. Some sideways action, but essentially up. This is an old label here, huh, on the weekly chart. Who knows when I put that on. This essentially looks like, a wave 1, 2, and then this is wave 1 of, probably 1 of 3, 2 of 3, now we're in 3 of 3, and we'll probably see a correction down. So, my feeling is that we'll probably see some downside pressure on the euro just based on some of these. Euro Canadian. Now remember, there also is at the same time tomorrow morning at 8:30 when Draghi starts speaking, we also have Canadian retail sales. So be cautious of that if you're trading any CAD crosses because this news has potential to be market moving too, although as I mentioned in my last video, we've got Canadian CPI on Friday, which I think is going to be more important than this, but the retail sales can be a big deal. For Canada too. Remember, the Bank of Canada is very focused on data right now, and anything that they can point to either support or diminish their chance of a rate hike, they're going to be looking at, and that includes retail sales. But getting back to the euro, so just be cautious of the euro Canadian because of that Canadian news. But again, this to me looks like it potentially is going to turn down. This looks like a possible, the last pieces of an ending diagonal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe we push up here and overnight into their early London session, and then potentially set up for a down move. Now the difference in that here. Now, if you look at these, this is the Euro Kiwi. Now, this big move up tonight was because of the Kiwi news that came out late this afternoon, the CPI news, which was very dovish. It was much worse than expected, and so I had that labeled as an ABC, but clearly this is a 1, 2, and then there's a 1, 2 of 3, and then we shot up for 3, and I think we'll go up again. Now this is a 20-minute chart, so certainly we've got 11 hours until the news comes out, or until the press conference starts. It's 9:30 now. It's not till 8:30 tomorrow morning. So even though I think my bias on the euro is still to the downside, I think this Euro Kiwi will continue up, at least heading into the news. I mean, this is a significant move up. If you happen to catch this, you made some serious pips. Unfortunately, I did not take it, and I didn't take it because I wasn't around right when the news came out, and when I checked afterwards, this had pretty much already happened, and I'm not jumping on a moving train like that. Plus, the spread had really opened up to double digits, and it was like up around 15 or 20 on the spread, and there's no way I'm taking a trade with that kind of spread. But I may look for a short-term long on this pullback here because this is going to go up again. So it's going to probably drift around here during the rest of the Asian session, and I think the European session will take it up. And the CCI shows that you have this compressed going up on the news, now we're going down spread apart, and that generally is a classic wave 4. And so I think we probably will get, I'd say, at least 80 or 90 pips to the upside before this goes back down. I mean, this is 70 from here, and this is about 90 here, so conservatively 70 pips from where it sits right now, and that basically takes you right back to these highs here. So I mean, that's my estimate, and then that might time out well with the when this news comes out. So even though this is very bullish right now, Euro Aussie, again, this one's really choppy. Some of this is being driven by the by the Aussie, but yeah, this looks like potentially. Let me see. I'm gonna move down a little bit here. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, guys. But again, I don't know. This one doesn't look really clear to me, but it could be something like this. 1, 2, 3. Then we have an ABC for 4, and then move back down. Euro dollar, of course, has been just on a tear for a long time. Also, again, going back to November, we've been pretty much on the up move on the euro, and I have this labeled right now. This is a 4-hour chart. This is a little bit of a stretch, but I can certainly see maybe over the next 12 hours that we see a pull back and then a push back up. But I'm really hesitant to trade against the dollar. But also remember, though, that the euro, a lot of the strength in the euro is being driven by weakness in the dollar. It's not necessarily euro strength. It's, in my opinion, this is more dollar weakness. I mean, we look at the U.S. Swiss and the U.S. yen. It's just they've been getting, all the dollar crosses have been rallying, and the dollar pairs themselves have been falling. So I do think this has potential to turn down, at least temporarily. I think the euro fundamentally is still strong, and any pullback or any sell-off will be limited, because the long-term fundamentals for the euro are positive right now, with the ECB probably changing its stance. So that's a word of caution I throw in. If you do short the euro on this news, I would not be looking to hold it for an extended period of time, because I think that would be foolish. It could be several sessions, but it's certainly not a long-term move the way we've seen with this uptrend. And euro pound, which I really never trade, because this is so, these are two giant currencies fighting each other, and the pound has been really supported lately. So of course this pair is going down. So I don't really put too much into this. I mean, this, if you look at this, basically this looks like it. It could certainly turn back up, but this downtrend is not over. We've got impulsive move down. This is for a 6-hour chart. This could go back up into the news and then push down again. So it's not out of the realm of expectations. It's just not a pair that I prefer, just because it's paired up with the pound. So again, guys, just on the patterns, I would say short-term dovish is my bias. Short-term bearish or dovish is for the euro. Once the dust settles on the press conference and the market gets a direction, I would expect that we'll see some selling of the euro for some time. But I do think that, again, the fundamentals longer term are strong, and we will ultimately see it turn back up. But could be a good short-term opportunity, to last maybe a few sessions of selling. So before the market picks it back up again. So, and especially if the U.S. dollar continues to be under pressure. So, anyways, guys, that's it. And like I said, for the rest of the week, again tomorrow, Canadian retail sales. I haven't looked at the Canadian pairs. I'm probably going to take a look at them, but I'll be more interested to look at them tomorrow night ahead of the CPI news on Friday. I may just let this one go unless I see something really obvious in the patterns. We do have preliminary GDP also Friday morning early too, so that's another one maybe to keep an eye out for. GDP is important. We did have the pound news on what was that? That was early this morning. That really didn't do anything, as I suspected. GDP is important news. So there could be a trade here. So tomorrow night I'll probably take a look at the Canadian pairs and the pound pairs, especially the pound pairs. tomorrow night, and then early Friday morning look at the Canadian pairs and see what's happening. And we also have U.S. dollar advanced GDP coming out Friday morning too. So the dollar's been getting hammered lately, so we really need to see some positive news here to turn that trend around. But this is another one that's potentially could have some implications too. So there's still a lot of action left in the next 2 days. So be nimble, but obviously the major one in all this is certainly the ECB news. But I would not ignore these Canadian news or the pound news or this dollar news. I think even if it doesn't turn out to be a good trade with the euro, some of these other ones, especially this Canadian CPI, will probably be my preferred one to look at. So, all right, guys, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, like the video, comment, share it, and subscribe if you're not. And again, fundamentals and technicals really important to be used together, even if it's not Elliott Wave. So, but keep an eye on this stuff, and don't trade in a vacuum, as I always say. You gotta understand how the market sees these events and what they're expecting versus what actually happens, and that's how you trade them. So, and then you just use your technicals to to pick entries and exits and forecast. So, all right, guys, that's it. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you all soon.